Superfuse is an action RPG that hails itself as a love letter to Diablo 2, which is a pretty bold claim. If any of you have ever played Diablo 2, then you know how well the endgame for that is designed. It's just a really good game, and it's been around forever, and people still play it very, very regularly every day. To make such a claim, you're going to have very, very, pretty good gameplay. Now, Superfuse, on the other hand, unfortunately, at this time, seems to have missed that mark. Now, before I get too much into it, I do realize that this game is in early access, and it's okay to have outstanding goals like being a love letter to Diablo 2. However, there are some specific things in this game that I think I should go over, and we'll go over the pros first. The pros are the actual fuse system itself. However, unfortunately, this is also kind of a con. The fuse system allows you to, every time you level up, you gain 5 fuse capacity, and then each of these support fuses cost anywhere between 10 to 15 fuse capacity. And the most unfortunate part is that all of your skills share the same fuse capacity. So you're very limited on how much you can actually use, and the drops are not, you have to, so that they're consumable, meaning if you get 2 crit chances, you can use 2 of them, and then if you want to try to put another one on your other skill, you have to just have another crit chance drop. It's not like a vendor or anything that sells an unlimited amount of them. It's just kind of limited in this way. In my opinion, if they were to really hammer home this fuse system and allow the fuses to be shared in between your skills, then I think that'd be a lot better of a system than the current one that they have now. But like I said, I'm not a developer. This is just how I felt. Another good pro is that the movement feels relatively snappy. However, I do have one complaint. The one complaint being, if I click on an NPC, it doesn't route to the NPC. It routes the fastest line of sight, even if it's through walls, and you'll just get stuck on the collision all the time. It's kind of annoying. However, the actual using of the skills and the movement back and forth, it felt very responsive, and it was very snappy. So it felt comfortable, and you can turn on a dime very quickly to avoid attacks, or throw an attack and then move, throw an attack and then move, stuff like that. That was a really good, it feels very polished in that aspect. However, the movement around walls and stuff, if I click on an NPC, I feel like that can be worked on. But I do consider this a pretty big pro. This is something that, like I said, it's in early access. These things can be fixed. Another thing that I'm surprised to see in early access is that the game kind of does explain itself fairly well when it comes to certain mechanics in the game. However, I'm afraid that this is sort of where the pros end. I'm going to get into a couple things that during my gameplay I found that were very aggravating, and things that I really just couldn't forgive in certain aspects. But this is where the pros end, unfortunately. And here, let's just get right into the cons. One of the very first quests that you get is actually to collect these corrupted entrails, and you have to collect 10 of them. It doesn't even sound like a lot. However, you quickly realize that you get them from killing these walker type enemies at the beginning of the game, which is fine. As you would expect, you would probably collect all 10 of these, fairly quickly, within the first 70, 60 enemies that you have to kill, as that is another quest, and that's what would feel natural in an action RPG. However, not this quest. I spent a long time trying to go through every single area. Literally the first hour and a half of my gameplay was going through the first couple areas, trying to get all of these 10 corrupted organs. And unfortunately, after clearing every single area and every single side area, I went on to an area where there was enemies that did not drop these. So I figured that I missed it. I missed the place where I'm supposed to collect these things. So I went back. I tried to restart the area, but every time I restarted in the area, it didn't respawn the enemies. So I just figured that the quest was bugged, and I tried to move on. A quest that should have been completable within the first 5 minutes, killing your first 60 enemies should have also completed this. And then there was the last organ. So I go back to town and I see, what is my reward for all of this effort? My reward is 250 XP and 50 coins. At this time, I had several thousand coins, and 250 XP was just barely enough to level me up. A quest that took me quite literally 2 hours and should have taken me the first 5 minutes of the game basically did nothing for me. I backtracked probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes, going through areas of enemies that I have killed previously. Yeah, this was probably the worst feeling moment out of the entire game. My life then flashed before my eyes as my next task was to collect 12 contraband, and I only had flashbacks of these stupid, corrupted organs. And just to taunt you, throughout the game, they never stop dropping. They have no purpose, they sell for basically nothing, and they keep dropping in front of you. It kind of sucked. Luckily, the contraband one was not bad. I was level 10 and I had not died so far, except for this one right here, because I wanted to test how much damage the Explodey Boy did. Turns out it was a lot, and turns out I died. But that one was fairly intentional. However, Superfuse commits a cardinal sin, being the game is very relatively easy, and you can kind of go through enemies, with relative ease, and then all of a sudden they throw a just overtuned, super incredibly difficult enemy at you. So I ran into this boss fight thinking, you know what, this will be probably easy. I'll just run up to this guy and it'll be nice and fine. And he ran me down. Outran me and just beat me up. I later found out through more gameplay that it wasn't really just this enemy. It was more the enemy type. Now, these fisty boys are the only enemies that killed me out of the entire thing. The only enemy type that killed me was these enemies that are like fast melee attacks. Those are the only enemy types that killed me in the entire game. So I don't think it was just this boss. I think it was just this enemy type. But as you can see in the gameplay, for some reason, the game pulls a funny joke. Do you see that upper conduit? Do you see how I can't teleport there? Well, there's a reason. In this area, there, and I have to say it this way, is a literal hidden waypoint. Every waypoint that I have found in this game has been right at the beginning, like right around this area. However, in this area, I did not find the waypoint until I had the entire map completely filled out. And to make it worse, it was on the complete opposite side of the actual area in which you go to fight this boss. Meaning, when I died to that boss, I did not have to go back 1-2 areas. I had to go back to the complete last waypoint that I went to before I even found. And I actually just walked past the waypoint. I didn't know, but I'm just exploring, trying to find a waypoint, and I actually walked past and had to circle all the way back around. This waypoint was literally hidden. I don't know if this was on purpose or what, or if they moved the area in which you have to fight this boss, but this was another really, really bad, feels bad man type areas in the game. I went back, I killed him, and I actually had to employ real strategy. And thankfully, I actually read my skills and knew, how to beat him. It was just going to take a lot longer, and it was a lot harder than literally anything I've ever fought in the game so far. So it was just kind of like getting caught off guard and really just felt pretty bad. And another small thing, which I say small because they are still in early access, the areas did start to feel pretty similar and pretty much played exactly the same. So it was actually a pretty nice refresher going through the ice area. Um, it felt like it was new and it kind of refreshed the game and made me actually want to play it a little bit longer than I was going to because it starting to feel very monotonous when it came to the actual areas of the game. However, what finally did stop me from continuing with the game was this very last area that I was playing for a couple reasons. Superfuse has a lot of potential. Superfuse was actually really fun interacting with the fuse system, the main part of the game where I think that they should really, look more into more fleshing out the actual fuse system. That was the fun part. The fun part was messing with the PoE support esque type things. However, this last part was the last straw for me. There is an area in the game where you have to go fight this boss. It's an assassin, and one of the guys in the town gives you this task to go down and fight this assassin. However, oh, unfortunately, you have to go through not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, six, not seven, but 8 levels of mines that look exactly the same. I had to go to the Ambi mine level 8 before I could even fight the boss. And all of the areas look exactly the same. I literally went through the same exact area 8 times in a row just to get to a boss. That felt awful. Like I can't even imagine like playing through a game and then having this same exact level 8 times in a row with literally the same name, blank mine level 6, 7, just to fight a boss one time and then, proceed on through. It was really bad, which is a fault of the game. The biggest thing being uh, that the pacing, this is this game's biggest fault. The pacing really didn't feel good ever. There were certain times where items were dropping like 4 or 5 levels ahead of me. There was times where I was out leveling the area by 6 levels. There was times where enemies would completely utterly one shot me in one area and I would go to the next area and I would one shot everything. That was the pacing in this game. It's a cardinal sin for action RPGs. You need to have good pacing. Unfortunately, this one did not. And unfortunately, this was the area that did it for me. The 6 levels, the 8 levels of mines that are the same exact enemies, that is what did it for me. And unfortunately, that's where I will have to stop playing the game. You guys have a good rest of your day, and remember to drink some water, get hydrated, because that's important to me. And we will see you in the next video. Bye bye. Markiplier?